Oh, wow. You're actually wearing your hair down tonight.
Yeah, because I finally decided that I love my hair. I figured out the solution for my morning frizz, midday poof, and even next day bedhead. It's Frizz E's Secret Weapon Touch-Up Cream by John Frieda.
Well, you and your hair look flawless.
Flawless and touchable. Feel.
Oh.
See? It's soft. Smooth ends, no flyaways, shiny.
Well, I clearly need to get some because your hair looks amazing.
Frizz E's Secret Weapon, only from John Frieda.
Blog Talk Radio.
Every author has that one story that hits close to home for them. This is Yvonne Mason's.
This book is very personal to me.
The 50s has been idealized as a time of prosperity and growth for some. Those with mental and physical challenges often faced scorn and ridicule, and were destined to be left in so-called hospitals to wither and die. Dreamcatcher, Failure Was Never an Option, is the uplifting story of a man named Stan and his family's courage to defy the odds and succeed in an era where no merit was seen in the challenged.
It is the true story of my brother who was mentally and physically challenged. It is because of my brother Stan that I am a successful author.
Dreamcatcher, Failure Was Never an Option is available through Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it is 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, and this is Off the Chain. I am your host, Yvonne Mason, and of course I do shameless promotion. It is a beautiful thing. And that book was my very first book, and I'm very proud of that book, and I'm very proud of the man that my brother became. He taught me so much more than I could ever teach him. So if you have a challenged child, know a challenged child, have a friend who has a challenged child who is struggling to accept and understand that challenged child, buy Dreamcatcher. Failure Was Never an Option, because you're going to be surprised at what you find out about my brother Stan. Now that the shameless promotion is over with, tonight's show, I can't wait. This show is going to be so much fun. We're going to learn so much because we are blessed and honored with author AnnMarie Martin. Now, Miss AnnMarie has traveled the world over as a reporter and an editor for the last 10 years. She's covered world issues as well as localized ones, and she's met and profiled people from all walks of life, watched social media change the world of journalism forever. And a little more than halfway through this decades-long journey, she decided that she wanted to go in a different direction. So she started writing down the stories that were dancing around in her head madly because the voices wouldn't shut up. That happens. The Hollow is just one of them. So without further ado, welcome, AnnMarie. How are you, my friend?
Thank you. Hi, Yvonne. I'm good. How are you?
I am excited.
Me too.
We got so much to talk about and so little time to talk about it. Let's get right to it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Let's start with how AnnMarie got to this point. I mean, you're a reporter, for crying out loud. You've been all over the world.
I have.
Tell me how you
I've been
got
very
there.
lucky.
How did you get there?
Well, I went to school for journalism, and my first job out of the gate was for a very small newspaper, a very small daily newspaper in upstate New York. And it was quite a culture shock for me. You know, I grew up in Bergen County, New Jersey. Depending on where you live within the county, it's very close to New York City. So I was in upstate New York and in the middle of nowhere, and I really learned what makes a community, and I was able to cover, all different all different types of panels and boards that make a town a town, and I learned how places are built, really, and so I started in a very small place, and it got much bigger and much more global for me with my next job, which was at a magazine, which focused on interior design, and the travel opportunities there were immense. I've been to Shanghai, I've been to Scotland, Glasgow, Scotland. I've been to London, Paris. I even went to Dubai. I went all over, covering mainly hospitality and hotels and restaurants and nightclubs, and speaking with amazing designers and architects. And I still do that to this day. It's kind of how I mainly pay the bills, and kind of hopped around within interior design trade magazines. And I've always thought that I would write fiction, and I guess it was around 2008 is when I started writing The Hollow. You know, my husband, my boyfriend at the time, we would talk about the story that was kind of rumbling around in my head, and he really pushed me to actually get it down on paper. And it took me a few years to actually get it all out and edited and nice and pretty and perfect. And then I started the horrible process of querying agents and publishers, and I heard back from an awesome man named Nicholas Grabowski, who asked to see the manuscript, and I sent it to him, and after hounding him for a little while, he finally got back to me that he loved the story, and he wanted to publish it. And I'll never forget it. It was Valentine's Day on 2014, and that's why many of my social media handles, most of them are AnnMarie Martin 214, and it kind of commemorates that date that Nick made that publishing dream come true for me.
Nick may take his time, because Nick is a typical artist, and we're not.
Sure.
Our time is not everybody else's time, but he is a fabulous, fabulous human being. Nick and I have known each other for many, many years, and I have to tell you, if anybody understands the publishing world, Nick does, because he's been out there since the 1980s.
Yeah, it's amazing everything that he's accomplished, and I've told him before, he's definitely building up a lot of amazing karma for himself with all of the dreams that he's helped come true with
Absolutely.
authors like me who would never even have gotten a chance otherwise.
And he's been down that dark road of being done dirty and not being paid and
right.
having his work taken, and so he understands all the pitfalls. That's just one of the reasons I absolutely adore the man. But ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Nicholas Grabowski, and he owns Black Bed Sheets. And if you're an artist or an author or love to read, go to his website, Black. I can't say it fast. BlackBedSheets.com, and look up all of his wonderful, wonderful authors, because this man, he is absolutely amazing. But there was something that happened that you and I talked about earlier that also happened last year after you got published. And
yes,
the sad part is that when this happens, for some reason, people don't know how to express their condolences or their sorrow, or they don't know how to talk about it, so they're going to walk around on eggshells. And, of course, when this incident happens to people, they need to talk about it. It's part of the grieving process.
Right.
And if you don't mind, I would like to read this beautiful, beautiful thing that you wrote that personally meant a lot to me. Because
sure. I might get emotional, so forgive me for that.
Okay.
But you're perfectly welcome to read it.
We both
That's
will
why
get
I
emotional.
put it out there.
Because even though my grandchild was 13, I understood this on a level that some might not. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm talking about is AnnMarie lost 2 children 4 months apart. And no one ever told her that might happen, that a child might be miscarried or stillborn, and that mother might not have that child. Now, when one carries a child, no matter the length of time, a bond is formed. And when that bond is broken due to a death, whether it's from a miscarriage or a stillborn birth, the pain is still there, real. You still grieve. It doesn't matter if they lived 9 months, 3 minutes, or never came out of the womb. You still grieve, and we don't talk about it, and we should, because that mother needs to heal as well. But when I was looking up my stuff on Miss AnnMarie, I found this. And those of you that know me know that we lost our 13-year-old granddaughter in 2015. And that pain is very real still, and always will be. But AnnMarie helped. Yes, but AnnMarie, you helped me with this in a way you have no idea. The title of this. The title of this is a hello and a thank you. And it goes like this. I wanted to write a goodbye letter to you, but then I realized you're never leaving. Before I became a mom, perspective was not something I was ever in too much control of. I look back in shame over some of the things that would bother or upset me. And while I appreciated and loved those around me, I never quite understood how lucky I was to have them until these past few years. You showed me how quickly the ones you couldn't live without can be taken from you. And now that's something that lies heavy on my heart, but that's okay. In a way, it's a gift. Now, I never take for granted one little kiss, a giggle, a tickle, a session, a smile. There are people out there wishing and praying for half of what I've been blessed with. So for this realization, I thank you. From now on, we will not live just for the weekend or for that next vacation. We will find the beauty in each day because you never know what each may bring. I feel tragedy chasing me down for some reason, and I hope it is all for naught and just par for the course after any type of loss. I guess it's because a part of me went with you. But now I need to move forward and decide what that loss means for our family. How will we feel it? I'm not sure yet, but what I am sure of is that we now have 2 guardian angels permanently assigned to our family. How lucky are we? We will never forget that you were here, even though it was for just a short period of time. Thank you to you and your brother for opening my eyes. Be with him always. He needs you more than we do. This is in loving memory of 2 babies I lost this year, 5/20/16 and 9/13/16. AnnMarie, that was such a healing note when I read that, and I appreciate that from you so much.
Oh, thank you. I mean, that's why I debated greatly on whether I should, publish that or make something like that public. I knew I wanted to write something because that's how I guess it's how I deal with things. I've always been able to express myself best when I was writing things down rather than speaking them out loud. And I knew I wanted to write something to, I wanted to write something to acknowledge it. And I decided to put it up on my blog because if it helps just one person, and obviously it did with you, then
yes,
it was all worth it. And I wanted to mention one thing too. Yes, like I said, I just feel like it's miscarriages and the loss of a child is something that it's not taught to women growing up. But it is something that I feel like I was more, oddly enough, I was more aware of it than maybe the average gal out there. Because the average Joe, because my mom had a lot of difficulty conceiving, so we were always aware of that. And I wanted to say as well, her best friend had a horrific time trying to have a biological child of her own, but she took that pain and she turned it around into another charity I want to mention. Actually, it's called the Little Angel Fund, and it provides support and monies for babies who were born prematurely and for families who have lost a child. And she is one of my, for sure, personal heroes in life. But when I said before that it isn't spoken about a lot, I think I still feel that, and I think it should be taught to girls growing up in school, because I don't remember there ever being a lesson in sex ed about miscarriages, and it's something that should be acknowledged.
Wasn't. In fact, when I was pregnant with my children 100 years ago, you didn't even hardly talk about being pregnant.
Right, yes.
If you couldn't read it in a book, you didn't know anything about it. It was just one of those things they didn't talk about.
Right.
Barely even talked about it with my doctor. Yeah, you're pregnant, no big deal.
Right.
But you also donated money from a book you wrote called Different is Beautiful. Now, tell us a little bit about the book before we talk about the charity.
Sure. Well, the book is called The Spinfields. It's a children's book, and came out. I'll talk about the story in a moment. But when it came out, we had a little release party and a signing, and we donated part of the proceeds to a charity called the Happy Soul Project, and it's an amazing charity out of Canada. And it's run by a young lady named Tara, and it was really inspired by her daughter who was born with Down syndrome. But she does so much more than just provide support for families with children with Down syndrome. She has a program called Kick It Capes, and she works with various schools, I believe, and just maybe youth groups, children's groups, to create capes for little children suffering from cancer. And it's just, a really fun program where they get to wear these capes that people have created for them, and they feel like a superhero for the day, and it gives them, that little extra strength to go out and fight the horrible disease that they're dealing with. But anyway, Tara's whole message is that different is beautiful. And your differences, no matter what they are, whether they're from, a learning disability or something genetic that you were born with, or your sexuality, whatever the differences that you're dealing with, it's a beautiful thing, and it's what makes you you. And you should use it to be brave and be strong and not be afraid of it. And that hit home for me because the Spinfields was inspired by my son, Sebastian, who Sebastian is on the spectrum. He is autistic. And I came up with the idea for it when we first started realizing, I guess he was about 17, 18 months old, when we started realizing that, there might be some issues here that we need to address. We need to get him some help, and we started with the early intervention program in our state, which I'm pretty sure is a countrywide thing. I'm pretty sure every state has early intervention services for children that might be experiencing some delays or developmental issues. They offer in-home therapy before a child transitions into preschool. But anyway, we had just begun that journey, and I was working full-time at the time, so I would take him for walks around the block when it was this was the summertime. I'd take him for walks before it got too immensely hot. We'd walk around the block, and he would always stop in front of this one bush that was covered in the craziest-looking spider webs that I've ever seen in my life. They weren't circles, they weren't radial, so to speak. They had all these crazy connections that made no sense, and I always tell people they look like kind of like those roped-off jungle gyms that kids can climb, if you've ever seen one. But that's what they looked like. And I kind of related it more and more to what we were going through, in that, just because something doesn't look like what you're used to, it doesn't mean it's not beautiful or special or important. His journey is his journey, and there's meaning in it, whether I can't see it right now or not. There is meaning there. So I came up with the story of the Spinfields, and it's a tale of a family of spiders who run a little circus in a backyard in New Jersey. And the family spins. They do kind of a whole performance show where they spin these beautiful webs for an audience full of bugs. But of course the webs are very traditional, and they're circles. And then they have their little baby Salvatore, who's their new son. And he decides he doesn't want to spin circular webs. He wants to do webs that are kind of abstract, and they look like the webs that Sebastian, my son, and I used to see on that bush. And I won't give the whole story away, but it's about how his family reacts, and how he eventually proves them wrong and shows them that there is beauty in in my breed of web. And the audience will and does see that too. And it's the underlying message as well is that people are inherently good, and you need to give them a chance to see the beauty in you and your family. And so that's where the Spinfields came from.
And also, and I preach this daily, every child that is born has a purpose.
Absolutely.
And we might not know what that purpose is, but the man upstairs does. And if we just open our eyes and open our hearts, that purpose is always revealed to us if we pay attention.
Right.
And
well,
when you were telling me, go ahead, sweetheart.
No, I was just going to say, if anything, with your children last year, if it showed me anything, it's that Sebastian is here for a reason, and he's going to do great things.
Of course he is, because what people fail to realize is children that are on that spectrum are creative, they're artistic, most of them are geniuses or near genius level. Just have to find a way to tap into that and bring him out so he can just take it and run with it like he stole it.
Exactly.
I am so proud of him because he saw beauty in that spider web. He did,
and he would, again, that was when we first realized, he's having some problems with communication. But he would stop in front of that bush and point at it. When early intervention comes in, depending on, where your child is in their stages of development, that's one of the first things that they will teach a child that is having trouble communicating. They first teach them to communicate with their, using their body, shaking your head yes for yes or for no, and pointing is a very a big focus for them so that they can identify what they want or what they need. And so that was one of our big struggles when we first started, was pointing. But he never had trouble pointing at that bush. So I took it as a sign.
Because that bush, what was on that bush was beautiful to him. It interested him, and I bet that little mind of his was trying to figure out how that spider linked all of those little designs together with a web that is so strong but yet so fragile. And that little mind was just working. Now, how did he do that? I just got to figure this out.
Yes, because mine is always running.
I can see it now. That little mind's just working. You can see those little wheels just turning. Because I watched, and I say it not jokingly but dead serious, because I was watching a video of a spider weave its web. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching the spider weave this web, and it's like old-fashioned tatting that my grandmother taught me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I can imagine what Sebastian was thinking, watching that spider take that one strand and design with those 8 legs that beautiful web that didn't look like a normal web. But then define normal. Normal is the perception.
Right. Exactly. And it's funny, too, because I have a very weird relationship with spiders. And Nick has actually commented to me, he's like, you got a weird thing with spiders, don't you? Because I don't know if you've seen the cover of my novel, The Hollow, but there's a spider on the cover of that as well, because that's also kind of a large running theme in that book as well. It's something, spiders are something that I've always been very afraid of, and I actually used to have like these night terrors growing up. Well, not growing up, they actually came later in life, but I would see kind of wake up and I would see spiders covering my ceiling, or like one kind of coming at me, and the main character in that book suffers from those types of night terrors as well, but those spiders are trying to tell her something. But anyway, it's just funny that I have twisted it now into, from that fear to this friendly family of spiders.
Well, it could be that your spiders and your night terrors were trying to tell you something as well, and that is that you were going to have this beautiful child who would learn how to communicate via a spider web on a bush. Who's to say?
True. That's true.
And when I knew I liked you when I met you, even before we talked, because just the commonality of both of us having precious, unique children in our families. And I'm not going to say they're challenged, because we're all challenged. Hell, I live in a right-handed world. They're unique, and they're beautiful in their uniqueness, because Stanley was never supposed to do anything but be a vegetable, but somebody forgot to tell him, and he proved them all wrong. And there were no resources in the 1950s, whereas we're so blessed now, and we understand things we didn't understand years ago.
Oh my! I mean, when people tell me like you're amazing, you're doing so great, and it's like I tell them all the time, I'm no hero, because the women and the parents who dealt with it 20 years ago, I mean, they are the real heroes, because there's not many answers now still
Yeah.
There's things that you try and you experiment with, but there's no clear-cut, road path as any parent of a child on the spectrum will tell you. But so back then, it was even. I can't imagine what it was like.
Well, what they did is children that were, for lack of a better word, retarded, and they labeled every child that had a disability as retarded then.
Right, yeah.
They dumped them, they warehoused them in insane asylums. They did lobotomies on them. They did shock therapy on them.
Yeah.
And then they threw them in a cell where if they weren't insane before, they did go insane.
Right. It's horrifying.
They abused those children, and we lost so many children. Who knows what those children could have accomplished?
Right.
Had they been understood. And they used to say that children that were retarded was the devil's spawn, that we go back to that old thing, they've been cursed by the witches, and so we have come a long way. We still have a long way to go. If someone could find the key to unlock the mind of these beautiful, brilliant, autistic children, just imagine the knowledge, the inventions, the music, the words, the writings, the cures we could get from children. There is hope.
There is, and we we as parents have to keep. You got to keep an open mind, as much of an open mind as possible, and to remember that your child doesn't learn and does not see the world in the same way as others do, and to not be afraid of that, but to embrace it and work with it as best as you possibly can, as is my best advice.
But AnnMarie, when you think about it, do any of us, under the quote-unquote normal perception, and I use that term loosely because how many of us in this real world are really normal? Define normal. But anyway,
right.
Do any of us perceive the world in the same light?
No, we don't. That's a good point.
I may see, in fact I do, to me the color black, which is the absence of light, is the most beautiful non-color out there. I live in black. It's to me. Whereas someone else might like bright pinks or yellows or pastels, doesn't mean one of us is right or wrong. It's just a different perception.
Right. It's like that old adage, there's three versions of the truth. Yes. Well, there's three versions of a story. Sorry, there's yours, mine, and then there is the truth.
Exactly. So, Sebastian's perception, who's to say that Sebastian's perception of the way he sees the world is right and we got it all wrong?
Right. That's true.
Because you've traveled the world over, so you've seen different perceptions of the world.
Right.
And I'm thinking maybe Sebastian's got it right. We're the ones that aren't real bright.
Right. I mean, he will. He and many children like him will notice things that you would never in a million years have thought about or noticed, and it's just amazing what he realizes, and his memory is insane. It's like a steel trap. I mean, we're still working on communication, and his verbal skills, but I mean he'll utter something to me that he hasn't heard in a year, and it's just noticing that object that he connects to that experience, and he'll come out with it, and it knocks you off balance for sure.
Well, think of it this way. All right. The brain has to do a multitude of tasks. We have to breathe, we have to eat food, we have to take care of bodily functions, we have to walk, we have to do all this stuff. Well, a child on the spectrum doesn't have time to deal with things like, because
they're bombarded with so much.
Yeah, they're more interested in watching that caterpillar inch along, trying to find its place to hatch into a beautiful butterfly.
Right. Their focus is more than most of us can ever hope to achieve.
And I'm not so sure that's not a bad idea. He might be right. Why do we have to talk to each other? There's so much to see.
Yeah, he's got it figured out, I think, better than any of us.
The boy's got it right. I'm telling you, he's got it right. Now, when he gets ready, and it's important, just like that web on that bush, that was important to him. He wanted you to know that was important to him, so he showed it to you.
Right.
And when something else becomes that important, he's going to find a way to say, "Look, Mama, look at this. This is important to me. Pay attention to this."
Oh yes. Well, whenever he really wants something or really needs something, he has no problem getting it across.
See, I rest my case, Your Honor. we have solved that mystery. Children with autism just don't have time for us silly people. That's right.
For you silly normal people.
Just get out of our way. We're busy doing other things. We are solving mathematical equations that have been out there since the dawn of time. We're trying to make sure that the theory of relativity is really not just a theory. It really is a fact.
That's right. That's funny.
So don't be bothering me with menial stuff like talking.
Right. I'll get to that when I'm good and ready.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. When a baby is born, okay, when a baby is born, the first thing it learns how to do is how to eat, because that's called survival.
Right.
Then the next thing it learns how to do is roll over, because that's not survival. That's just an added element to take them to the next step. They can survive without rolling over as long as they can eat. Well, after they learn how to roll over and after they've learned how to eat, then in a little while, if they're in the mood, they might crawl. But if they're like my children, forget crawling, I'm going to walk. Crawling takes too much time. Just take off and walk. But if you will notice, when children are going through these stages, other things don't develop as fast. If a child is concentrating on learning how to walk or crawl, they're not going to talk. It takes too much time.
Right.
So who's to say?
Right. But I was excited. I did not know. I was excited to hear about your book. It was Dreamcatcher.
Dreamcatcher. Yes, Dreamcatcher failure was never an option.
I'll have to pick it up.
Honey, it will. Every emotion you have. So just have tissues by you.
I'm sure it will. But I do want to definitely pick it up, because I'm always interested in hearing from adults on the spectrum. You know, what I can be doing. I don't know if Stan was on the spectrum, but You know what I'm saying? Some older people,
Right.
rather than the so-called experts and therapists and doctors who are telling you what you need to do. I'm always
like they got
interested in
children
hearing
on the
from.
spectrum.
Right. I'm always interested in hearing from adults who have gone through this. What worked best for them, and what should I know? That
Well,
maybe they wish that their parents knew.
What my mother told me, because again, this was the 50s. There were absolutely no resources, none.
Right.
And what had happened is Stanley got encephalitis. He got the flu, and then he got encephalitis, which is the lining on the brain becomes infected.
Yes. Okay.
So, what my mother did. My mother is a very logical person. Thank God for my mother, and I mean that in the purest, most reverent tone I can make it. Thank God for my mother, because she refused to turn him over to an asylum, because the doctor was, well, you can have more children. You have one. I was the oldest. He was behind me, and then there's 3 more under us. You already have one at home. You'll have more. Just throw him away.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was the attitude. So what my mother did is she read everything she could on brain damage, because she says the brain is a muscle.
Right. Exactly.
And with all muscles that have been damaged, to be retrained. And and it's a period of repetition to retrain that brain, just like it is a period of repetition to retrain a foot muscle, a leg muscle, a stomach, whatever muscle has been damaged, to relearn things. And that's what she did. Is she worked on the brain muscle. It was repetition.
Right.
Well, I feel like, and I may be wrong, maybe the experts know more than I do, but children that are on that autistic spectrum, the brain is a muscle. If the muscle is reworked and retrained, repetition, who knows where it might lead to?
Yeah, well, no, you've definitely hit the nail on the head. That's what a lot of Sebastian's therapies are based on. A lot of repetition. So it's not all too different how how each problem was addressed.
And people that have a traumatic brain injury, and for the intents of this conversation, we're going to go with that. Brain damage is a traumatic brain injury. Stanley's happened to be encephalitis. Sometimes it is harder for recall, for comprehension, and to learn new things, and to retain things, because the brain is still healing. The brain continually heals itself. And what the brain will do, whatever part of the brain is damaged, the other parts will take over the function of that part until that part is well enough to take its function back over.
That's amazing.
And the damaged part can be healed to a certain point and retrained. And the same thing with autism. It's a matter of being open-minded enough to say, okay, the brain is a muscle. Okay, so he can't verbalize or she can't verbalize. They don't like to be touched. Well, guess what? Neither do I. So, really? You're telling me that, don't be touching me. I'll hurt you. I don't like being told I can't do something.
Right.
Well, neither do the children on the spectrum. Don't tell them they can't, not you personally, but don't tell them they can't do something. Let them try it. They want to hang upside down from the monkey bars. Let them try it.
Right.
So I guess, and I'm being facetious, but I guess maybe I have brain damage too, because
no,
that's in their little list of we know better.
Right. Well, no, it's back to your point about not getting like your mom did. If I am to give any more advice, another piece of advice, it would be that to not be complacent and not to roll over and die and say, well, this is just how it is, and your child can pull out of certain things and grow, and it depends on how hard you're willing to work on it and how hard they're willing to work on it, obviously. But just always remember that there, you have the power to change things, and exactly. There is a lot of hope out there, and it might not look, life might not look exactly how you thought it would be, but there's tons of help to be had, and tons of resources to take advantage of. So,
and children are so much fun. They really are. If we look through the world through the eyes of a child, and especially one that is gifted, and that's what Sebastian is. Sebastian is gifted.
Thank you.
He is gifted in ways that I want to get in that kid's brain and just pull all that stuff out because I want to know what he knows.
Yeah, well, and he, for all the work that he has had to put in to life, it's just, he'll be 4 in a few weeks. He'll be 4 on March 12th, but at just 3 years old, all the work that he has had, he is still such a happy, silly little guy, and he amazes me because sometimes I'll look at him in a therapy session or whatever, and I'm like, how is he dealing with this? I would tell her to get out of my face after a full day of school and
just
work.
Remember,
and
he's too busy with other things in his mind to talk.
That's right.
He'll talk when he's ready, when it's important. When we get off of this call, if he is one of those children that will allow you to hug him, kiss him on the top of the head for me, and a big fat hug. From
I will. He loves
grandmother that is already in love with him, and I've never even met him.
Oh, that's so sweet. I absolutely will, and thank God he loves hugs and affection. So he was he was able to pull out of his sensory issues were not as serious as that. I mean, it's horrible, but some children, like you said, you can't. Light touch is such a uncomfortable / sometimes painful thing that
right.
There are some poor parents out there who can't, hug and squeeze their babies. But thankfully, Sebastian's sensory issues were never that serious, and he has pulled out of a lot of them with a lot of, again, hard work and therapy, thankfully. But I will absolutely give him that hug and kiss on the forehead from you.
No, on the top of the head. It has to be on the top of the head.
Okay.
Yes.
The top of the
head. It's a mother thing. It's a grandmother and a mother thing. It's an old blessing. It's an old Irish blessing when you're kissed on the top of the head.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I never knew that.
So give him an old Irish blessing from an old Irish grandmother that
I will.
He be well and strong and prosperous and show the world what he's made of.
I will, absolutely. I know he will. Thank you so much.
Because it is his oyster for the picking. Well, that was fun. I am so glad that we're here. See, I told you it would not be a bad thing. You were nervous.
No.
Silly girl.
Well, as I was telling you before, it's a very unnatural thing for me to be on the other side of the questioning. I'm usually the one doing the interviewing. So to be questioned is very, it's making me feel sorry now for many of my subjects that I've interviewed over
Well, I hope I was kind and sensitive and generous.
No, absolutely. This was a lot of fun, like you said it would be, so thank you.
Well, you're quite welcome. Tell the folks because we got off track with books, talking about your beautiful,
That's okay.
beautiful style. Let's talk about that. Tell the folks about the books again and about where they can find the Happy Soul Project and the other charity, and then where you can be found.
Sure. So my two books are The Spinfields, which again was inspired by my son Sebastian. You can find that on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble, as well as off of the Black Bed Sheet Books bookstore, which I believe is danwarden.com/blackbedsheet, right?
It is.
Okay. And so, right, as I said, you can find it off those two major retailers, Amazon and Barnes & Noble, as well as my awesome publisher's website. And I also have my novel, my first book, The Hollow, which was more inspired by those travels and my around the world and my job as an editor. We didn't get to go into this one, maybe for a next show if I'm lucky enough to be on again.
You're coming back, honey. No, you're mine now. You're coming back.
That one was inspired by, as I said, my life as an editor, but also I used to live in Sleepy Hollow, New York, the actual Sleepy Hollow, where it's been rode across the bridge, and they have this amazing, huge, expansive cemetery there where Washington Irving is actually buried. You could go visit him. And it has such a presence in the town. It almost has its own character in that book. But that was also inspired by that setting and that community that I lived in for a while. But you can also find that one off of Amazon and Barnes & Noble as well, and the Black Bed Sheet bookstore, again, danwarden.com/blackbedsheet. And I don't sell my books off of my website, but I would love if anyone listening would go visit. It's author AnnMarieMartin.com. Pretty simple. And there's a contact tab on there, and I'd love to hear from anybody.
They can also find you on Facebook.
That's right. They can find me on Facebook, on Twitter and Instagram. My Twitter and Instagram handles are AMMartin214, like I said before. And on Facebook, it's just straight up AnnMarie Martin. And thank you. I do want to give a shout-out to those two charities, the Happy Soul Project. Shame on me. I can't remember the exact address, but if you Google it, it'll come up right away. And also the Little Angel Fund, founded by Jenny and Joseph Transalia, kind of second parents to me and amazing best friends to my parents. I always say they keep them young. And it's in memory of the little girl that they lost, Amanda Rose Transalia, and it provides support for women and families of little preemie babies and those families who have lost children as well.
Now, this is something that I try to ask every guest at the end of the show.
Sure.
Surprise! There's always a surprise. The question that I ask is, without dreamers, we would have no universe. We would have no world. We would have no society. So what do you tell the dreamers out there that are afraid to make their dream real?
Just that anything is possible. If for nothing else, look at what happened yesterday. The man that we inaugurated as our president. Everyone said it couldn't be done, and he did it. So
Absolutely.
whether you love him or hate him, he did the impossible. That nothing is impossible. I mean, really, that's that's the best I've got. And don't let anyone. No one's smarter than you. I'm a very introverted person, and I tend to put myself down a lot. But don't think that anyone is ever better than you. I don't care what degrees they have or what they've done in their lifetime. No one is better than you. And
if anyone ever tells you that they're smarter than you or better, send them to me because I'll personally kick their ass.
We'll remember that.
Because you're in my clan now. And I take care of my clan.
Oh, I'm so honored, really.
Take care of my babies. Don't be messing with my babies. And ladies and gentlemen, those of you that know me understand that when you mess with something that I'm loyal to, like my friends, my family, children of the president, I'm going to get on my bandwagon for about 30 seconds. Don't be messing with children of the president. I don't care if you voted for him or not. Leave the children alone. Wasn't going to bring that up, but since we're on the thing of children and I love children, don't be messing with the kids.
Yeah. I think that's a good rule of thumb in life.
Leave the children alone. They're the innocent ones. They have to be protected. It is our job as adults, so don't be messing with the babies. Mm-mm. You see some monkeys you don't want to see.
That's
So.
And one more thing for the dreamers is showing up is half the battle.
Absolutely.
That's something I try to live my life by. Even if you're too scared to or don't think you have the energy to do something, just get yourself there. The confidence.
Once you get there, it's
right.
a piece of cake.
Right. The confidence and the energy will follow. Just get your butt there. If I teach Sebastian anything, I hope it's that.
Just get your butt there.
Get up.
Forget about
get your butt there.
It'll take care of itself when you get there.
Exactly.
and don't believe yourself. You're not an introvert, my friend. You're a beautiful extrovert.
Oh, thank you.
You're just hiding behind that title. You're just fooling folks.
Maybe. I'm trying. I've gotten better as I've gotten older, for sure, but still like a shy
Nobody
little
can do what you do
nerd
and
inside.
not be an extra. No. Mm-mm. So, as we get ready to close the show, I want to thank AnnMarie Martin for being here, and go get her books because you won't regret it. She is a marvelous human being. I'm so blessed to have her in my life.
Thank you.
Tuesday night, yes, we're going to have a show Tuesday night because we're not having one Friday night. On Tuesday night, January the 24th at 8 o'clock Eastern. See what you do to me. Eastern Standard Time. Author Stephen Nance will be on this show. So I expect all of you listeners to tune in and listen. And I don't know why y'all aren't calling in because you see how much fun we have when we do the show. If you want to get in on the fun, just phone number's there in front of you. Pick up the phone and call. We'll talk to you. And be dreamers. Today is all we've got, ladies and gentlemen. We're not promised 5 minutes from now. So if you spend all of your time being down in the mouth and feeling sorry for yourself and moaning and groaning because you don't have this, you don't have that, you don't have the other, well, guess what? The blessings that you have, you won't have them anymore because you've got blessings that you don't know you've got. If you have your health, a warm bed to sleep in, if you have a roof over your head and you have food, no matter how simple, in your stomach, and you have clothes on your back, you've got everything. If you have love in your heart and you have happiness in your soul, you have everything. So when you come to me and you say, but I don't have this and I don't have that and I don't have time for this and I don't have... This old woman doesn't buy it. I've been on that side. You have everything. Money does not buy happiness, and you can't even have fun trying. Happiness comes from within yourself. people can't make you happy. Happiness comes from within yourself. So, AnnMarie, thank you, my friend, for your beautiful story.
Thank you. And truer words were never spoken there.
Thank you for Sebastian.
Oh. I thank God for him. He's wonderful, and like I keep saying, I know he's going to go out and do great things.
Yes, he is. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we leave. Don't hang up after the show. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Do great things, like Sebastian.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you, honey. It was a beautiful, beautiful show. I had a ball.
So did I. It was wonderful.
I feel so uplifted and so filled up with, I can't explain it.
Oh,
I cannot explain what I am filled, and it's all because of you and Sebastian.
Aw. Thank you.
His
You're so
soul
sweet.
just reaches through time and space and wraps its arms around me. And I mean that sincerely. As an empath, I pick up on things like that. I pick up on other people. It doesn't matter if they're in front of me or not, but I pick up on their feelings and their moods and their desires.
Mhm.
And I guarantee you, Sebastian is an old soul.
It's funny you say that. I think he is.
See?
He's like
There
his
you go.
father. They're happy with the very simple things in life.
And they probably appreciate things that some of the rest of us might not.
Absolutely, yeah.
So give the boy a hug and a kiss from an old grandmother that he's never met before, and tell him that she said he will do great things.
Oh, I will, for sure.
And, before I forget, we have to take care of business. After we hang up from here, the show's going to archive. And when it archives, I will put it up on Facebook and tag you in it.
Okay.
And then you take this show and you put it wherever you want to put it. Promote it. Because
absolutely.
It's been a beautiful, beautiful show. Well, then tomorrow, because I probably won't get to it tonight, when this show archives, it automatically goes up on iTunes and Stitcher Radio.
Okay.
Tomorrow, when I put it up on Spreaker, it will go up on YouTube, FM.com, and TuneIn Radio, as well as Spreaker. I will send you the link for that on Facebook. Then I put it up on Podcast.com. I put it up on Mixcloud and SoundCloud.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
That's how we're getting to 10,000 listeners before the end of the year.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
They don't call me the marketing queen for nothing.
Yeah, really. I think I need to take some tips from you.
Honey, anytime. We can do this. And I'm going to guarantee you're going to see some results from this. And I want to bring you back in May, because we didn't even get to talking about living in Sleepy Hollow.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
That's one of the places I've never been that I want to go. And Glasgow, Scotland, the historical / fiction / witch book I'm working on takes place in Scotland.
That's
Old
it.
Scotland.
Wow.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite trips. Yeah.
Girl, we got to talk.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. When are you finishing that one? I want to read that one.
Well, I'm just now doing it. It's going to wind up being 3 books, because when I started it, Lily Rose didn't want to be in Jamestown. I was going to put Lily Rose in Jamestown, but she said, no, I'm not going to Jamestown. And no, I'm not 12 years old. Okay, where do you want to go? Tell me. Well, she shut up for a while and pissed me off. So finally she said, I want to be in Scotland. I said, okay.
Wow.
We'll go to Scotland. But not modern-day Scotland. I said, okay, what year do you want? Pick one. So we're doing 1888. Now, I have
goodness.
ordered and received maps from Scotland, old Scotland.
Wow.
Maps of the clans of Scotland, Scottish music, books on Scotland. I ordered Macbeth.
Oh my gosh.
Which is one of my favorite plays. Well, then I pull out an old journal I'd been writing in, because way back when I wanted to put Lily Rose in Jamestown, I started writing about Lily Rose. Well, lo and behold, the story that I'm writing about was not in Jamestown. It's in Whitechapel in 1888.
Oh my gosh.
So now Lily Rose says she can't have my name. I'm in Scotland. She has to have another name set in the Victorian era, so you got to find her a name. So I go through the Victorian female names and came up with Adela Victoria.
Uh-huh.
Well,
That's
then
beautiful.
I have Adela Victoria and Lily Rose dancing around in my head gleefully, because they have this plot, this storyline that takes place in two countries, comes together in the third book called The Night of Revenge. I don't know where that came from.
That sounds amazing. It sounds like like an amazing trilogy that would, like, for Showtime or something.
Well, Lily Rose we know is a witch.
Uh-huh.
And Adela Victoria is part witch and maybe part vampire. We hadn't got there yet. She hasn't decided if she's going to take the plunger now. And that's never been done. Yeah, that's never been done in anything I've ever read. You're either one or the other. You're never part. You're never half witch and half vampire. And the common thread in these two women are their fathers.
Ah, okay.
So they both tell their own story in the first two books, and in the third book they join up, and I don't know who they're going to take revenge on, but apparently somebody.
Yeah. Wow.
You got to help me with Scotland here.
I'll try. It was a while ago, but I'll try. I'll have to whip out my all my paraphernalia and stuff I brought back. Maybe I can help with you.
I said all of that to say all that. Help.
Yeah.
because see, I got Whitechapel down. I know Whitechapel and Spinfields and the East End of London like the back of my hand, because Jack the Ripper is one of my most interesting cases that I studied in college when I was studying criminal justice. Serial killers are my forte. And then when I did the Mad Hatter, I had everything on Jack the Ripper, but then I spent a year doing research on, and I got maps of Whitechapel in 1888, I mean, streets and businesses, and so I've got all that, Victorian clothing, the whole 9 yards. So I've got the East End of London down pretty good, but Scotland? Really?
Well, it sounds like you've really entrenched yourself, so I think you'll probably have learned a lot the next time we talk.
Either that or I've totally gone off the just gone right over the edge of insanity.
Well, I hope not.
So tell me what night in May you want to come back. We'll talk about Sleepy Hollow and Dubai and all these beautiful places you've been. And
okay.
Yeah. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah. No, it'll be great.
It will be. So figure out on your calendar, because I know like me, you're busier than a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. So let me know what night is convenient for you in May. Pick a day. Pick a night. Wednesday through Saturday. And I'll go ahead and set it up.
Okay.
And we'll set the show, and who knows where we'll wind up.
Absolutely. Yes. Who knows where your characters will wind up?
Oh, Jesus
Adela
Christ.
Victoria and Lily Rose.
Yeah, they keep me awake at night.
Yeah.
Evil women. I'm telling you.
Hopefully I'll have gotten back into my writing a little bit more, and maybe I'll have more to preview and talk about that. I haven't
haven't written much in a while, but I'm craving it. So maybe there's something brewing around in my brain.
This show came at a good time for you, because now who knows where your brain's gonna, the characters in your head are going, hey, knock knock, somebody out there,
right?
AnnMarie, we're right here.
Yes.
Open up, we want out.
Yeah.
It's gonna wake you up in the middle of the night and go, wow, really?
Right. Exactly.
Thank you, my sweet friend. I have laughed and cried and just really, really enjoyed tonight.
Oh, no, thank you. I did too, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about everything we talked about. I wanted to get the word out there. The bigger the network you can provide, you can make for yourself, the better.
Well, for you to be successful makes me very happy.
Oh, thank you.
And especially to be able to educate people on our unique children.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what the world looks like in 10 or 20 years, because
exactly.
the neurodiverse, as they call them, are really taking over the world.
Yes, they are in spades, and I love it.
Yes.
I love it, because they have a voice, and they will no longer be made to be silent.
For sure, yeah.
So I'm going to get off from here. I've taken up enough of your time, and the people that listen to the show in archives get to hear this entire conversation we've had.
Oh, good.
So it's
good.
It's like the outtakes and at the movie. You know, when you sit there and you watch all the credits roll and people start leaving, but you have this
right.
This is what the archives
coming up.
is. Yeah,
awesome.
Yep, they get all the little nuances.
That's great.
So thank you again, my sweet, and get me a date. You can message me, and I'll put it on the calendar, and I'll start working on it.
For May, sure. Okay. Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you.
Thank you, darling, and give that baby that hug.
I will, for sure. You have a great night.
You too, darling. Good night.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Little Caesars has 5 hot and ready items at only $5 each. Choose from a large hot and ready classic, 8-piece Caesar wings, 4 20-ounce beverages, family-sized bacon cheddar loaded Crazy Bites, or new family-sized cinnamon loaded Crazy Bites. It's a deal so great, even my newborn is excited. What's that? She just said cinnamon loaded Crazy Bites? Her first words. $5 hot and ready deals only at Little Caesars. At participating locations plus tax.
Pizza, pizza.
There is more to me, Queen Eliara of Elfgard, than my elven magic. Just as there's more to Geico than saving you money, Geico also gives you 24/7 access to licensed agents online, on the phone, or on the Geico app. And while I am a mighty elf queen, I am also a mighty big fan of barbecue potato chips. Minions! More smoky mesquite.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.